Hey, and welcome back to Game Talk. I'm your host, Evan Beyond. Today I'm joined by Connor.
Hey, this is your pilot speaking. We're taking off soon from CRW and arriving in Pittsburgh in about an hour and a half.
You need about four more uhs in there to be an accurate pilot,
Shit.
to simulate real pilot dialogue. Just FYI. And Mike,
I don't know how to fly.
and as you can clearly see by our horrible jokes, we've been playing, or rather Connor has been playing Microsoft Flight Simulator, which seems to be kind of sleeper hit, I kind of want to say.
I wouldn't say that. I mean, I am actually flying. CRW is Chuck Yeager Airport in Charleston, and I am just a flight that I think I've even done it before, is Yeager to Pittsburgh. And I just kind of, figured I would see what Charleston looked like since I'm familiar with the town. And it's not fun. It's not a video game. It's in Game Pass, so I bet a lot of
simulator.
a lot of people are gonna check it out because it's in Game Pass. But I'm not having fun. It's just neat.
Yeah, I guess I don't know. I feel like could it actually be used to train pilots or for pilots?
I'm pretty sure.
Practice?
Yeah.
It's
I don't see why not.
100% a realistic flight simulator.
I'm pretty sure Microsoft Flight Simulator is used to train pilots. I think that's its core purpose.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I mean, you can interact with all the buttons in the cockpit. I had to turn off some of the realism settings. The first few times I tried to take off, I just hit too many G's because I don't know how to fly a plane, and it made me restart a few times, and I was like, well, this is I want to figure that out. I think.
Can you actually crash?
To my knowledge, no. The screen just faded to black when I hit too many G's. It didn't
That's
tear
probably for the best that it didn't render in shocking detail the horrors of a plane crash.
It took me a very long time to find I don't think it's actually called autopilot in real life. I think it's just
Really?
it says here it's a little button that says level mode, and I hit it and my plane evened out. And so I didn't have to constantly nudge the yoke anymore. But
So if we're ever on a plane that's going down and I'm on there with you, I'll turn to you for guidance. 'Cause you
of the
clearly know.
people that I know, I feel like I am the most capable of flying a plane. I remember when I was in elementary school, we went to this thing called Starbase, and they hooked us all up to actual professional grade flight simulators.
Oh, I remember Starbase, or was it Space Camp, something like that?
I thought it was called Starbase or Starlab or something. Anyway, we were told not to land the plane, but I did it anyway, and successfully without crashing.
Well,
Because I had spent hundreds of hours in Microsoft Flight Simulator 98 as a kid.
yeah. And just going from the 98 game to this game, from the screenshots I've seen, it's pretty much photorealistic.
Yeah, but it plays the exact same.
I mean, at a certain point, if you're striving for realism, you can't exactly innovate the gameplay, right? It's just that's how you fly a plane, you know?
Yeah, the only thing really different about this one to me is I'm using I'm using a Steam controller, but you can use an Xbox controller.
And you use an actual cockpit.
Oh yeah, I'm sure you can have hands on the actual system if you want to, but I don't have that. Well, I have a joystick somewhere, but even obviously there are not enough buttons on an Xbox controller, so I am having to occasionally grab my mouse and click on stuff in the cockpit.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
did not play the tutorial because I thought it would be funnier not to.
Oh yes, for sure. I feel like that'd be such a fun game to stream, at least while you're still figuring things out. Once you have it figured out, it's kind of boring. You're just
exactly
in a plane.
Once you have it figured out,
you mentioned
should probably
before the
just become a
show
pilot.
that the distances seem accurate and the time to travel seems accurate.
Yeah, I
So,
mean, I've been in this plane for a long time now, and I'm in the middle of nowhere in West Virginia. Actually, I might have crossed into Pennsylvania. I really can't tell.
Yeah, I mean,
That's-
it's interesting that this exists, I think, and it's definitely not something I normally play, but again, it being on Game Pass, I feel like a lot more people will play it because of
Yeah, I
that.
mean it's on Xbox, isn't it? Like,
It's out on
Maybe?
PC now, but it's coming to Xbox later. I
okay,
don't think it's going to make the, or actually, I think it'll be like a Series X like launch game. I think.
that'll be interesting. Yeah, I figured because I can't imagine this is running terribly on my PC, and I can't
And you have
imagine
a
it would
good
run.
PC, right?
Yeah, I have a pretty beefy PC.
Yeah, like I mean, it'll definitely be like pared down on Series X, like it has to be.
Like
Like,
I have it on medium settings, 1440p, and I'm getting like occasionally 30 frames per second.
yeah,
I like,
like with all the bells and whistles turned on, this is probably the most impressive video game ever made so far, like visually, uh, graphically, like just because like it's shocking how realistic everything looks.
yeah, it doesn't look good. Like, I mean, it looks good. It doesn't look better than other games. What's so impressive about it is that there are no tricks to it. You know, they're not putting you in a corridor and making stuff look good. They're not doing any geometry tricks or anything. It's just rendering the world as it is.
Yeah.
And it's like satellite imagery, so all these mountains I'm flying over are real.
Yeah, and you mentioned like before the show, you mentioned like a couple inaccuracies, like the Capitol building in Charleston wasn't exact, but
No,
I,
it looked like an office building kind of because they're using an AI to like, unless there's satellite imagery of the buildings, then they have to use an AI, and they have like height maps and stuff. So like the heights of the buildings are accurate and it's all 3D, but they replaced the Capitol with like a weird office building type thing, which is really weird because the office building is the height of the point at the top of the Capitol, and like that's like awkwardly tall next to all the other buildings in that area in Charleston.
yeah,
It
yeah, I
looks
don't know.
very
Like,
strange.
part of me thinks like I've read that like a lot of people who are flying this out of their home cities and they live in places like L.A. or New York, they're saying like everything's 100% accurate, but like obviously like
Yeah, they
Charleston's
have
not really
actual
a
imagery of those
metropolitan area,
places.
so yeah,
Yeah,
I feel
because
like yeah, more detail was obviously paid to like big hubs like that.
that's why I wanted to take a flight to Pittsburgh because I was like, I can see a good bit of West Virginia here, but then also go to a city I've been to and check it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, Mike, what do you think? This seems like kind of something that may be up your wheelhouse.
It
Granted, it's not
really
in
is. I
space.
haven't played it yet because I need to buy another hard drive for this game alone.
Yeah, and I would
Ooh, how
recommend an
big is it?
SSD because good God, are these load times long?
Yeah, I'd have to buy an entire SSD and then I'd have to buy the whole setup for it because if I'm buying a flight sim, I'm going ham,
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's not like
obviously.
you won't get use out of it because you could use the same setup for Elite Dangerous and stuff.
Yeah. I'd use the crap out of it, honestly. Always
Yeah, I
been a
wonder
flight sim
like
boy.
if there's a video on YouTube or something of like actual pilots reacting to this game. Like I feel like that would be neat to see. But I don't know, like as a pure simulator for me, like I think it'd be cool to try out once or twice, but like without actual gameplay beyond just, being 100% slavish simulator, like I don't think it would hold my interest for long.
No, I absolutely wouldn't have paid for this. I just happened to have Game Pass, and so I downloaded it while I was at work today.
Yeah.
And
And it's getting stellar reviews, by the way. It's like a 90 plus on Metacritic, which
yeah,
is
I mean anybody
one of
who
the best
actually,
rated games of the year.
yeah, anybody who cares about flight sims is going to be in love with this game.
Hmm.
I mean, I haven't even looked at like other planes you can fly. I'm just flying, I believe, the default Cessna. I don't even
Yeah.
know enough about planes to tell you when I'm sitting in the cockpit right now.
And yet you're flying it.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Cessna I think is what I always flew in '98. So like, and I've played a lot of Kerbal Space Program, which like is plenty to get you off the ground. Landing is the hard part, and I have not gotten there yet.
Well, good luck. It's
Good
not
luck.
something you want to hear your pilot say.
I don't know how to land this. Uh-oh.
I know how to put the landing gear out, and I figured out how to slow down earlier. So I don't know. Those are the two main parts.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Luckily, like they have the mercy of not or of just fading to black right if you mess up. So it's not going to
Yeah.
show you horrifically like crashing your plane and grinding along the runway.
I don't think there are save states though, which means if I crash, I will have to start over from Charleston.
That's
I can't
awesome.
wait to see the speed runs in this game.
Speed run. Like how's
Yeah,
that?
running.
No, that was a joke. There's no way there's
Okay.
gonna be speed runs in Microsoft Flight Simulator. That'd be so
What's like the longest flight in the world? Is it Sydney to LA or something like that?
I don't know.
Like I think it's like Australia to some city in the on the west coast of the U.S. is like the longest continuous flight you can take. So I
Longest
wonder,
I've been on was like 6.5 hours, I think, maybe 8 hours. I forget
Yeah.
from New York JFK to London.
and there are going to be like people who actually make those flights in this game, which is just
Oh yeah.
wild.
No, I see a lot of game developers on Twitter who are like, we didn't get to do all our travel this year because of COVID, and they're like excited to do some flying in Flight
I
Simulator.
mean,
Randy is
usually with travel, the exciting part is when you get there, not the plane.
typically,
But
yeah. No,
I'm
I
just
think
excited to
Rami.
be on a plane.
I'm not gonna. I think it's Rami Ishmael, but I don't want to butcher his last name because I have a ton of respect for him, but I've never actually heard his name pronounced. But I follow him on Twitter. He was streaming it the other day, and he locked himself out of his apartment with his plane just flying straight.
wait, what?
He got his plane straight, and he was streaming it. And he went outside to like get his mail or something, and he locked himself out, and the plane was just flying out on a live stream, and he could not change his direction or anything because he was locked outside of his apartment.
Oh my god.
It's
And
funny.
that was over an hour. It was a pretty funny thing to read on Twitter.
So speaking of Microsoft, just to sort of continue on that thread, did you guys see that? Obviously, we all know that the Series S is likely a thing, right? But it's sort of been leaked that
Did they leak what it actually looks like?
they haven't leaked what it looks like, but like I think it was like on a store website or something. Their listing got updated for like Series S stuff in addition to Series X. And like this is no surprise, right? Like we all know it's coming. We
Yeah.
didn't know for sure it'd be called a Series S, but the rumor of Microsoft having two consoles has been around for like I want to say like over a year now.
Also, they're not hiding it. Like there's a 1S and a 1X. Those are like the main Xbox One models.
Yeah, so I think they're keeping this like S and X naming system going forward. S being like the entry level, and the X being like the fancy one, right?
Yeah, I think. Which one do you think xCloud, or I guess Game Pass Ultimate is what it's going to be known as in the future? What do you think that's? Do you think that's going to be the S or the X, or do you think there'll be tiers?
I could see there being tiers, but I think like I think the default version will be Series S. That makes more sense to me, right? Like that'd
Yeah,
be
'cause
more
that's how it
cost
is right
effective.
now. Like if you have xCloud, it's currently Xbox One S.
Yeah. And some details on like the specs of the Series S shortly came out after this leak. So it's I think 3.97 teraflops of power or something. So roughly 4 teraflops of power.
Wow,
Which-
that's a third.
Well,
Isn't it?
that's to be expected, right? It's supposed to be like a strictly digital, like pared down version of the Series X.
I know, but I just can't imagine being the game developer. Like, I can't imagine it. I mean, I make PC games, but it sucks to be the developer who has to make something to target, almost 13 and almost 4 teraflops. Like, that's such a massive difference.
That's
not gonna
that's
be
a
fun.
pretty big disparity, and like that's Microsoft's been getting a lot of flack for that, like on Twitter and stuff. But like people saying like, how are you going to account for this difference? Like, will this hold back next gen games? And like they've been responding with things like, hey, like the Series S Xbox still has like a better CPU than a PS5, so like, and it will
Yeah,
still
but-
yeah.
Not a better
But, like,
graphics card.
yeah,
like that. That's not what we're talking about.
Right. But yeah, graphically it is a little lacking, but like I don't know, I kind of expected that to be the case. I think if it I think the Series S is strictly targeted at the casual market, right? And the casual market really doesn't care at all about teraflops and all of that we're like discussing at length here.
That's true.
But yeah, I think so I'm just thinking here. What do we know what the specs of the Xbox One X are? Because they also, I think they're discontinuing the One X and sort of just replacing it with Series S.
I don't know them.
So Xbox One X, I believe it was roughly 4 teraflops as well of GPU power, but I can't say for sure. I have to check on that. But
So that's about to get very affordable.
yeah, so like so this brings up the interesting question of price again, right? Like what
Yeah.
are these machines going to cost? Like I think so we have 4 consoles now essentially. PS5, PS5 Digital Edition, Xbox Series S, Xbox Series X.
Yeah,
And
but differentiating the PS5 digital and not like that barely
exactly.
matters. Like
Yeah,
that's not
I
going to
think
be a
that's going to
difference
be
of
like a
more than a
50, that I think that's going to be a $50 to $100 difference for sure.
yeah.
But I do think that's worth like in the grand scheme of things, like when consumers look at these prices, I think even that distinction matters, which is why I made it.
See, I don't think it's gonna. I think it matters now. I think 2 years from now, we're not gonna have. I think they're gonna phase out the disk drive. I think
I
that's the
could see
whole
that.
intention.
Yeah, I could see that. Okay, so wow. Okay, I just looked it up. Xbox One X actually has 6 teraflops of GPU power, so it's weaker than an Xbox One X.
That's actually really weird.
Yeah, that is strange to me. So like,
Although, okay, let's take a step back because we're not acknowledging this just yet. Teraflops
yeah, that's a
are
theoretical limit.
yeah,
That's
it's an easy way of measuring something. That's measuring how many things you can do, but not. And this is about to get very abstract, but the quality of what you can do with those cycles, because I'm pretty sure like yeah, I'm pretty sure my video card that I upgraded to had a very similar number of teraflops to my old video card. I upgraded from like a 7970 to a 1070, which are two different brands, but like I don't think there was a massive difference in teraflops there. The difference was like RAM and
yeah.
architecture.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of like the enthusiasts are honing in on this word teraflops, right? But in truth, there's a lot that goes into making your machine,
And so it's almost
a games
ironic that
machine.
it's the enthusiasts that care. There's like a weird bell curve to it where like the average person isn't going to care a ton about teraflops, then the eccentric gamer is going to care a lot about teraflops, and then the person who actually knows what they're talking about might care considerably
Right.
less about teraflops.
Right,
And
exactly. So.
unfortunately, as much as I'd love to be that person, I am not an experienced enough high-end game developer to tell you anything about a teraflop.
Yeah, and people a lot smarter than us, like Mark Cerny, for example, are constantly telling us that teraflops don't really equate to this is definitively how powerful this is, right? Like there's so
Right.
many other factors that go into it. But just thinking strictly from a price perspective, right? I think like we can like this is a strange question, but like how much in dollars does 1 teraflop equate to for you? Like, because I'm just trying to suss out the prices of these
See, that's a
boxes.
nonsense question to me. I can't answer that. Like,
So, like the reason I posed a question like that is that okay, let's say Series S, Xbox Series S is $300, right? And the Xbox Series X is roughly 4 times as powerful, right? No. Sorry, 3 times as powerful, right? So it's a 12 teraflop machine.
I think it'll be something
Like, will it
like
be three? Will the Series X be 3 times as expensive as the Series S?
I could see it being $700 or $800 at launch
Yeah, the closer
because
we
they
get
have an
to
alternative.
the inevitable, the closest we get to the inevitable price announcement, the more and more I feel that these things are going to be way more expensive than anyone like possibly thought of. Like, yeah, like you said, $600, $700, $800. That doesn't seem ridiculous to me anymore. Like, I think that's partially why that Sony and Microsoft are straight up just afraid to announce the price because A, they know like one will just undercut the other, and B, like they're thinking that these boxes are going to be so highly priced that they're going to get lambasted by the fans. Just, that's what I think. What do you guys think?
I mean, I don't know. It's so complicated. Like,
Yeah, I mean, I think we've been conditioned, at least I say we a lot. I know you guys are more PC centric than console. But as a primarily a console gamer, I feel like us console gamers have been conditioned to expect like anywhere from $300 to $500, and anything above that is just ludicrous. But I think, the enthusiast tech market is a very different place today than it was even in 2013, right? 2013, like $400 for a PS4, $500 for an Xbox. Like I we're paying like $1,000+ for phones now. And obviously you get a lot more utility out of the phone, but I feel like we've sort of been conditioned to fork over more money for fancy tech.
Yeah, I agree. I think people are more willing, just in general.
Yeah. So yeah, that's such a fascinating point of discussion, and I'm so interested to see what these prices are, but like neither of them are budging, which is just kind of comedic at
It's
the
insane because these things are going to be out in, a few months.
yeah. It's August. It's like the middle of August, which is just
Yeah.
crazy. We had the price for the previous consoles at like E3. So
Heads up for
anyway,
those curious, I did just now arrive in Pittsburgh.
did you land?
No, I overshot the airport because I wasn't paying attention. I was doing the podcast.
Ah.
So I'm turning around real quick.
That's
Nah,
funny.
I'm not gonna land the plane on the podcast. I'll just leave it on. I'll do that later.
So, I don't know if you guys have anything more to say regarding the next gen consoles, but I kind of wanted to talk more about Fall Guys too.
It's insane. So that graphic you showed me, that was 16 million players on just PS4
On
almost.
just PlayStation. So you've got to think that the Steam
So-
numbers are probably at least doubled as well, because the
Yeah, so
PlayStation numbers
they're
doubled.
probably at over 20 million players. They've eclipsed League of Legends as the most watched game on Twitch.
Yeah, the momentum is kind of insane. Like, last week we said like Fall Guys, can it be like a Fortnite level phenomenon? And it's looking more like it kind of can be, and it's becoming that. Because like I didn't expect the engagement, like the player count to double in just a week.
No.
Usually player counts like fall off after a game is out for like a week or so, but like it's just been increasing like crazy.
Yeah. It's insane.
And I also wanted to give props to whoever is like managing the social media for Fall Guys. I feel like they're doing exactly what they need to do. Like
Oh
they're
yeah, I love
so
they're
good.
doing they're doing a charity thing right now, right? Where the company with the greatest donation to, and I forget what it is, but it's something to help disabled gamers, I believe.
Hmm.
And I think it's at like 330,000 is the highest bid right now.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. And ironically, a lot of people thought it was going to be brands donating these massive amounts of money, but I think like a couple of people have stepped in and really dominated it more so, which is insane. These brands should really step up. They were all
Yeah, and
chomping at the bit because they thought it'd be free, and now
and the reward for whichever brand like donates the most is like a custom costume or whatever, right?
right.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. I've personally been trying to collect like whenever a legendary costume pops up in my store that's like a reference to another video game, that's like an insta buy for me.
Do you
If I
really
have
have the crowns to burn to be doing that?
I mean, I've only done that twice so far. Like I've only seen two references. One was
Oh, right, because you're on PS4, so you guys probably didn't get the TF2 Scout, did you?
no, at least not yet. I don't know if we're
Okay.
going to. We got oh gosh, Hotline Miami and what else? I think like a bullet thing from Enter the Gungeon.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, so I got those two.
I'm
But
just so attached to my diver suit. I don't know that I'll ever change that. I really like it. And nobody
Yeah,
else
so
wears it.
I don't think I've ever seen that in the store before, but like again, like I didn't play until
Yeah, it was like day
after it
2 or
came out.
3.
Yeah. So I might have missed that.
Yeah. A lot of people did. That's why I wanted it so bad. I was like, how many people are going to have 6 crowns today? So I bought it, and like now I feel cool because I got my 6 crowns so quickly.
Yeah. So I haven't played for a couple days because I've been extremely busy. But the last time I played for like I sat down and like I thought I'd just play for like an hour or so. I was like sitting down for like 6 or 7 hours playing this game. Like
Jeez.
yeah, it was just like constantly like, okay, one more match, one more match, one more match. Like I couldn't stop. But I did amass 10 crowns in one sitting, so I'm pretty proud.
Wow.
So
That's a lot.
Yeah, I'm sitting on a stack of crowns. I've gotten every achievement, every trophy in the game other than the win 5 games in a row. Still, my max is 3. I cannot win more than 3 in a
See,
row.
I think I've only won 2 in a row.
Unfortunate, but I have
Uh,
got lots of wins.
yeah, me too. I'm very confident now. Like every time I get to the final round, unless it's Royal Fumble, I'm very confident that I'm going to be the one taking home the crown.
Yeah, Royal Fumble is literally just completely random to me. Like I have no
Yeah.
idea.
But Hexagon is almost a guaranteed win for
Yeah,
me now.
Hexagon,
I've
I feel
gotten
like
very
I
good.
win Hexagon 9 out of 10 times. That's how confident I am in Hexagon. And
So,
Fall Mountain, less confident than Hexagon, but still pretty confident in Fall Mountain.
yeah, I found a couple of like shortcuts and stuff that are super helpful. Like a couple of physics, idiosyncrasies that help you out.
Yeah, so pro tip that I've discovered is that on any like downward sloped platforms, if you jump on those, you gain momentum and don't trip. So I've been doing that quite a bit.
Also, it's a bit of a Hail Mary, but when the balls hit those rotating platforms on Fall Mountain, you can get launched pretty far forward by those.
Yeah,
It's risky, but
I
if
often
you're already
use that.
losing.
But here's the thing, like I feel like most of the time, like 8 out of 10 times, at least the route I take, the balls fall pretty predictably. Like I've only seen it like fall the other way like once or twice. So most of the time I know which route to take to get propelled by
And that's the
flippers.
beautiful thing. Like I see so many people whining about Fall Guys and saying that it's like so much RNG, but like it's really not.
So the most whining I see for Fall Guys is regarding team-based games.
Yeah,
But like
and
I
those
think
are
I
a
read in the
crapshoot.
Q&A that like the developers are not going to budge on team-based games because it provides casual players a chance to win the game, which I understand. You know, like the hardcore players have the free-for-all type games, and then the casual players have the team-based games. So like,
I did see another interesting thing. They wanted to include a squad mode, like a squad playlist, when the game first launched, but they didn't expect this many players, and they didn't want to divide the player base. So I think it is extremely likely that we will get a squad based like queue soon that will have a different pool of mini games. It'll probably have a lot of overlap, but
yeah, I mean like the squad-based games, like I guess yes, it helps if you're in a squad for a team-based game, but you know, like teams are made of like what, like 10 to 20 people, and
well, the idea is that they want your whole squad to be able to win a crown.
oh, I see what you mean. Okay,
So
yeah, that would be neat.
yeah, like your whole squad would get eliminated at once or continue at once.
So would
But they
add
were
more
saying that they're
minigames
not
to
sure.
facilitate that, or just like
Yeah,
use
that was the problem in the interview, was that he was saying, how do we do that? Because we don't want it to just be like, the obvious naive solution is that, your whole team has to qualify or you all get disqualified. And that's not fun, because then you have the one person who you never want to play with because they're not very
Yeah.
good. And that's like the antithesis of Fall Guys,
right?
So I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. They're smart guys, though. I have faith that whatever they put out is going to be pretty good.
They're smart and very like socially savvy too. Like I love the little thing they did today where like the guy went out, like obviously it's kind of been a meme sort of to like hate yellow team on the team-based games, and the guy just said like I can delete yellow team if I want and I'll do it if you do like 100K, or
It's a
sorry,
million.
a million. I keep getting that number wrong.
Because it's at 180K right
Yeah.
now.
A million retweets, which is just a hilarious thing to do, because I think like if it reaches, which I don't think it will, right? Because like it's not going to reach a million.
Yeah, but if it did, they would just change the color.
Yeah,
Like,
it would just be like purple team or something, or like
Yeah.
be an even more offensively annoying color like beige or something like that, you know?
Yeah, it'd be gold team.
Yeah.
Gold team. Ugh.
So Mike, have you checked this game out yet, or are you still kind of just watching it? Or
I've
do
just
you
been
care at
watching a
all?
lot of it.
Yeah, it's fun to watch, isn't it?
Haven't you seen like the Fall Guys Twitter roasting Tim the Tatman for not
Yeah,
getting a win?
has he seriously not won a
I
credit?
don't
wild
think
to
he's
me.
won.
He's like a really lucrative streamer too.
Yeah, I can't imagine being somebody who gets paid to play video games all the time.
And not winning.
Yeah, like I was listening to a podcast I really like called The Besties, which is it's like a game of the year podcast, except it's weekly.
Jeez,
That's what they
pretty
call it. They
granular.
call it the game of the year podcast that goes all year long. But they did an episode on Fall Guys, and I don't believe a single one of them had secured a victory yet. And this was like last week, and I was like, wow, guys, like
Yeah, I don't know. Like, so
games journalists, am I right?
I've
but-
talked to a lot of friends that play this game, right? And like some of my friends still don't have a win yet, and I don't understand it. Like, I think part of it is just like once the mechanics click, they click. I don't know what it is. Like another part of it, I think, is like some of my friends are reporting like crazy latency and stuff, which I'm definitely not seeing on my game on my TV. So I wonder if it's a combination of those things. I know.
So
this
I'm not
might
the only
sound
one saying that
snobby
there's
or something, but I don't feel like it's that hard to get a win in this game.
So I'm not the only one saying there's an absurd amount of latency on PS4.
No, some of my friends say that too.
Okay,
some of my
it
other
might be
friends, yeah.
like your mileage may vary situation, but
Yeah, I don't know.
I will say the latency, I got used to it. I have wins on PS4. I
Yeah,
have
you do.
like 2 or
Yep.
3. It's nowhere near what I have on PC, but you know, what I'm saying is it's no excuse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get
Yeah, so like I really get good. I wonder like
No, but I play and design a lot of platformers. I don't have a ton of 3D platformer design experience, but I've played so many. I love that genre. And so like this is
Yeah, and,
my
like,
game. If I was
yeah.
going to be good at a game, this is it.
I think that's kind of a similar situation for me because like 3D platformers is something like the first game I ever played was a 3D platformer. Like 3D platformers have been an intrinsic
What's the first
part of
game you
my
ever played?
Super Mario 64.
Wow, I can't believe I started on an earlier game than you. I started on Super Mario World.
Yeah, I mean I've said that like billions of times on this podcast, Connor.
Yeah, I know. I don't pay attention to this. I don't listen to this podcast.
Yeah, who listens to this podcast?
I mean, you don't have to listen to the podcast. You could just listen to me.
Yeah, I know. No, I always have to like when our loyal fans message us in our Discord, which you all should. I always have to like rack my brain to figure out what they're talking about because they don't always give us a lot of context.
Yeah, please. Yeah, I would love to have more engagement in the Discord. We had like an insane discussion about Sonic, which quite frankly made me nauseous, but you enjoyed it, I bet.
Oh yeah, I thought it was very good. I actually I'll probably talk about that next week. I found out a game that I really want to play called Spark the Electric Jester.
That
It's,
sounds Sonic-y to me.
It is absolutely it's crazy. It's like it started as the guy who did it started making Sonic fan games, much like the Freedom Planet guys. And then he went on to make a game called Spark the Electric Jester, which kind of combines Sonic and Kirby in a way that I thought was inspired. And then he went on to make
It's a weird combination. But
that's the 2D one, yeah. And then he made a 3D one, which looks, people call it a good Sonic Adventure game, and I have to try it.
yeah, I mean that sounds cool, but whenever I hear Sonic fan-made game, like I shudder.
There are a lot of very good Sonic fan-made games. It's actually
I'm sure
crazy.
there are, but I've also like
There's
I've been
also Sonic
exposed to the
Dreams
flip
Collection.
side of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, but this looks very good. I am not gonna let you sit here and spit on the name of Spark the Electric
Okay.
Jester because everything I've read, like people really like this game. I haven't played it yet,
interesting.
but it's like I don't know. You can get both of them for $22 on Steam, so I'm probably gonna do that later this week.
I'm sure our major Sonic fan in the Discord will be grateful for that knowledge.
I hope so. Where were we?
Fall Guys.
Fall Guys.
God, have you guys tried the new, or I guess you haven't, Mike, but have you tried the new minigame yet, Ahmed?
Yeah, actually, yeah, Jump Showdown, right? Jump, is that what it's called?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so that
It's
one's
fine.
pretty hard, I think. I think
Yeah.
it's a little more difficult than some of the other finale games.
It's honestly extremely RNG based. Like picking the right side. Like you can get
It's all about
stuck.
positioning, I think.
Yeah.
Like positioning is key even more so than reaction time.
I've
But
only played it
I
once.
don't agree that you can get stuck. I don't
You
think that's a thing.
Really?
Because did you know you can jump from platform to platform
Yeah.
after they fall?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So
No, what happened to me when I was playing it, and I didn't get caught by this, but there were two platforms on opposite sides,
yeah,
and that you just had no idea which one was going to last longer.
yeah. So from my experience, when there's two platforms left, it stops dropping platforms. So
Well,
then,
there were three platforms left, but like at the very beginning, like it started splitting in half, and you really
oh,
just
I
had
see what you mean. Yeah.
no way
So
of knowing which side was going to last out.
in that case, I always keep an eye on while jumping and doing all that stuff. I always keep an eye on like which side has more room, and I always want to be on that side, right?
Okay. See, I've
So
only
that
played it once, and I
oh
lost because
really?
I got too aggressive, and
Yeah.
there were three people left. I grabbed one of them to try to throw him, and I got knocked off while I was holding on
Yes.
to him, and the third
So
guy won.
that is a lesson I learned very early on. Every time I try to go on the offensive in Jump Showdown, I always die. So like, and every time someone has tried to grab me, they get knocked off and I win. So like, I feel like you just need to be, at least for me, I feel like you need to focus on just surviving in Jump Showdown, and that's the easiest way to win.
Okay.
And but Jump Showdown, I think from a mechanics perspective is probably the most interesting out of all the finale mini games. There's so much to it, right? You have to, make sure you position yourself so when you jump over the bar, you don't hit the bar above it and get knocked off. And
Right.
you
Which
also have to
becomes
keep an
very
eye
difficult to do.
on the platforms that are constantly falling and position yourself to be on the area with the most space. And you need to keep an eye on the other players because they might try to mess you up. So there's just a lot going on in Jump Showdown, and I think it's a really good finale.
I
One
have
thing,
seen at least
yeah,
one video of somebody who picked the wrong platform,
yeah.
and they were able to jump on the bar and ride it to the platform they wanted.
What a legend.
Yeah,
It's
quite the Hail
insane.
Mary. It was
Yeah.
extremely impressive, but
But I did see one thing, and I don't know if they patched it yet, but apparently someone put like on Twitter or something that like you can like jump off, but if you like jump off just right, you can hang on to the edge and you've essentially just won the game because nothing can knock you off
unless that platform drops.
unless that platform drops. But like if you wait until there's only two platforms left and then hang off the edge, then you've essentially won. But if
Yeah.
two people do that, the game will like never end, which
Well,
is
that
just
yeah,
crazy.
which is a fun bug because the same thing can happen in Royal Fumble if whoever has the tail disconnects. The game it's an indie game. It's not polished to a mirror sheen yet.
I mean, that being said, I feel like it's pretty polished,
Oh yeah,
like
overall, like
out of the
I'm
box. Yeah.
extremely impressed with what a small team has been able to do with this game. It's insane,
Yeah. And
other
kudos
than
to
performance on console.
creating the only battle royale I can win, which is pretty neat, I guess.
See, I can't say that, but
Yeah.
it's probably the only battle royale I can like casually play. Although there's still not a battle royale I can play like when I'm tired. They're all still so very
Exactly.
intense.
Yeah. Like I was, so yesterday I didn't play at all. Like I thought about it, but I was just so tired. I was just like I cannot play this game well if I do it today. So like
Yeah.
even a game as casual as Fall Guys,
Well, that is the nice thing about Fall Guys is that I do not care when I lose. Like
Oh, yeah.
if I'm not like hard gamer mode, like
yeah, it absolutely, well, losing is not as traumatic as it is in like other battle royales, I will say.
Yeah. Because you can hop back in and
Plus,
I don't
it's
know. I
just
just
so
join
darn cute
sometimes.
looking,
Yeah,
It's just
I join sometimes and I'm like, I don't really care. Like, hey, I'm not playing to win. I'm playing to play. And then there are other times when I'm like, that crown is mine. Get out of
yeah,
the way.
yeah. It's funny. Like the last time I played, I was playing. You remember Josh, right, Connor?
I do. Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
So
I
we
met
were
Josh and Thomas.
yes. So I was playing with Josh, and we were both made it to finale, and it was Royal Fumble. And at some point in the middle of the match, I steal the tail from Josh,
Oh no.
and obviously like that, he didn't like that very much.
Yeah, that's a
But
friendship ender.
but then, the tail got stolen from me, right? And like the time was virtually out. Like the timer hit 0, but somehow miraculously, as the timer hit 0, I got the tail back and won the game. And then he was just like, "Yeah, dude, I think I'm just gonna get off now." Like he was just so defeated. which I thought was really funny.
Oh,
But
hold on. Update on Fall Guys. Tim the Tapman has gotten a win
Finally.
congrats. Yeah.
You
an
heard it
hour
here
ago.
first.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, like I feel like he's good at games, right? Like, and I know friends that are good at games, like multiplayer games, like FPS games and stuff, but aren't as good at Fall Guys. So I
Oh,
feel
yeah.
like it's just a different skill set.
Yeah. I have a couple of friends who I would say overall are far better than me at video games that I just annihilate them at Fall Guys. And I think that the problem is that like my perspective of who's good at video games is so skewed by what the typical multiplayer games are,
Right.
and that's like Smash Bros. And first-person shooters.
Right.
And Fall Guys does not appeal to either of those crowds.
Yeah, it's a very different. Yeah, it's so unique. Like it's so unique. I wouldn't have even thought like a game like this would be possible if you pitched it to me.
No, it definitely appeals to my I spent a couple of weeks trying to get the world record on the races in Lake Kingdom in Super Mario Odyssey.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, I believe I was top 100, or at least very close to it.
That's
And
pretty
then,
cool.
you know, there were a lot of ties. That game only measures down to the millisecond, and a lot of people were doing those races. But yeah, I was very high up on the leaderboards in Lake Kingdom because everybody hated it. That's why I picked it. But yeah, you know, that skill set carries over to Fall Guys pretty cleanly.
Yeah. And it's funny. I saw like a Twitch VOD of a Dark Souls speedrunner playing Fall Guys, and he was just doing the craziest stuff. Like I think he was playing on the Whirligig. That's the one with all the windmills, right?
Yes.
And he was just doing like insane maneuvers, like using momentum and like perfectly timing like getting through that middle windmill at the end that's like impossible to get through, and just like
Yeah, I figured that out.
you can do it consistently.
1 in 3 or 2 out of 3 times. Yeah.
That's pretty good. Like so the way he did it, like he dove into it,
Yeah.
but like didn't dive a long distance. And so he
really?
just sort of got like nudged through it.
See, my
I don't
strat
remember
is
for sure. Yeah.
you want to be on the very far left, and you want to dive, and you want to be laying on your belly as you pass under.
Yeah, he did something similar to that. So
Yeah.
I guess there is a trick to it, which is cool. Because like I thought like it was such a crapshoot whenever I tried to do it.
See, what's crazy is the first like day that I played it, I made it through consistent every single time, just running and diving.
Oh
And I
really?
have not made it through since then. I just had such insane luck day one,
Yeah.
which is funny.
But yeah, like I'm looking forward to seeing what they add. You know, like they said, they just want to keep adding more and more games. So like I eager to see like the catalog grow, and like eager to see if they add more like categories of games. You know, like if you notice like right before the game starts, it tells you like the category of the game. And currently there's only one game under the category of logic, and that's Perfect Match. So I feel like clearly that indicates that there's going to be more logic-based puzzles.
Yeah, I mean, the sky's the limit with this game, you know? Like, I saw people suggesting like a Splatoon sort of thing almost, where you're like running around a board, and it's a Mario Party minigame too, where you like run
Yeah.
along and you change the color of the platforms you touch. And
Right.
like, I think there could be a fun one where it's just like a bunch of coins and it's a team game, and you want to be on the team that grabs the most coins, or like. You know, even like the Mario Party games where like there's fruit falling from the sky and you have a basket or something, like all of that just works in Fall Guys.
Yeah.
And like they don't even have to be that good, but like adding a minigame adds so much variety.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like all the minigames that are in right now, with the exception of Perfect Match, I think are very well thought out and very good. But you're not going to get to 100 very quickly like that, and I don't think that it would kill a couple of okay games that are still better than Perfect Match, which doesn't take much, would be welcome, I think.
Yeah, Perfect Match, and I think the fact that there's like 3 tail-based games is kind of a weakness, but other than that, like
See,
I think
even
the
the
selection
tail-based
is pretty
games, at least
sound.
you do something. I don't understand how Perfect Match is anything other than last place on everybody's tier list, because it's just boring. You literally don't do anything for like 2 full minutes.
It's bad. It's the only one I would actually call like a bad minigame.
Yeah, if I could remove one, that'd be the only one I would want to. Like,
Yeah.
it's just boring. I mean, I get where they're coming from. Like, those logic games are interesting and stuff, but they're my least favorite in Mario Party too. Like any of the like, I think a Super Mario Party, there's one where you have to like count a bunch of stuff. I'm like, man,
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. Like,
Right. Yeah.
most of this stuff is 3D platforming. I don't want to suddenly have to count.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
Now I need to buy Fall Guys.
Yeah, you probably
Convinced
should.
me.
Either buy
didn't have
Fall
to-
Guys
so much
or
fun,
buy
dude.
a month of PlayStation Plus.
If
Either
I-
one.
If I didn't have to drop a security deposit on an apartment, I'd be playing Fall Guys right now.
Oh yeah, that's rough. Yeah.
But yeah. Anything else to say about Fall Guys? I actually wasn't expecting to talk this much about Fall Guys again.
Yeah, I
but
really haven't played it
just
much.
Sort of happened. I haven't
Like,
played in the past couple days, but before that, I was playing quite a bit.
Yeah, I've been back into Sea of Thieves, honestly, which I don't want to talk about much because I don't have anything to say about it. It's just been what I've been playing.
Yeah. So, do you have anything you've been playing that you want to go through? Or
Yeah, I've been playing. I played a little bit of Spiritfarer yesterday. It's
What's
another
that?
one of those things. It's a game that just came out yesterday, I believe. It's on Game Pass, which is why I'm playing it. Because it was one of those things that was kind of a risky purchase, I guess. Like, it's hard to look at it and say whether it's good or not. And I've even played about an hour of it, and I have a hard time saying whether it's good or not. I enjoyed what I played. It's a bit of a 2D platformer. I've read that it turns into a bit of a Metroidvania later, but you like sail around and you're basically you get spirits on your boat and you're supposed to like help them move on, essentially.
Hmm.
You make them happy or whatever, or at least make them at peace with the fact that they've died, I guess. And
see,
it's
like
not
when you
dark.
say it's a platformer and then you mention boat, I'm like having a tough time imagining
Yeah,
what the gameplay is like.
it's very hard to explain. Your boat is just kind of like a home base, and you can go to your boat and you put in a destination, and then you're just stuck on your boat for a little bit while it goes to the destination. And while you're doing that, that's typically when you would want to handle your management stuff, which is like you can build a little guest house, you can build a little farm on your boat where you can grow some food and then build a kitchen that you can cook a little bit of food for your guests and stuff. And like there's a little bit of management there because you have a finite amount of space on your boat to put all that stuff, and you could make your boat bigger and all. And I'm not really sure how integral to the game that's going to be later, but it's neat so far. And like, I don't know, the management, like the building stuff, almost just so far for me just made it feel homier because I like decided what this looks like, so it gave me like a sense of it's mine.
Yeah.
And that's nice. And like the art style is just gorgeous. Although I was playing it on my monitor, and sometimes it zooms in a little close. I think the art was meant to be viewed at 1080p, and I'm looking at it in 1440, and so it would zoom in a little close and not look great. But when it's at the normal zoom, it looks gorgeous. And like you play as this cute kid and her cat, and like you run around. You have this big witch's hat looking thing that flops around as you run. It's beautiful and super charming. And all the dialogue is very
I'm
well
getting
written.
like, at least from a visual standpoint, I'm getting Ori vibes.
Yeah,
from
a
your
little bit.
description.
Yeah, it's very hand drawn, but it's
Yeah.
so much brighter. Like at no point in this game is it like, well, no, there was a point that was kind of dark and spooky, but it's very bright. It's not like like if you didn't know what it was about, you would not think it's about a bunch of dead spirits and stuff. You would think it was like about a girl who lives in a world with talking animals and stuff. Like it doesn't. Yeah, it's super like lighthearted and charming and like nice. Although I imagine there are going to be heavier moments later. They've kind of hinted at it. So yeah, if you have Game Pass, I'd recommend you check it out. It's definitely worth the free download. I'm not far enough in to say otherwise yet, but it's fun.
Sweet. Again, showing the power of Game Pass here.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's not, it probably would have flown under my radar without Game Pass.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I can go next. I don't really have anything interesting besides Fall Guys, right? Like that's the only thing I've played when I've been playing video games. And I do want to say again, 10 wins in one sitting. Very proud of that.
Yeah, that's a lot.
But
It was an
Yeah,
8-hour sitting though.
yeah, it was like 6 to 8 hours. No, it was a blur. Like I don't remember how long I actually sat down.
This is gonna sound like gloating, but I keep like winning my first or second game when I sit down to play, and I'm just like, well, do I keep going or do I quit on that high? Like,
Yeah, I find that quite often too. Like my first couple games go a lot better, and then I just lose a bunch, and then like
Yeah.
I have to struggle to win more. But yeah, like Fall Guys, I don't know, like still that's occupying like most of my game playing desires. And I feel like a part of that is just because like I get enough wins to feel like I'm almost obligated to play because I don't want to miss like the legendary skins and stuff. I guess that's a sign that this game's like really gotten under my skin. So
Yeah, it definitely has, because you don't even like skins in games.
no, I don't. Usually I just so like I wore the Bulletkin skin for a while and I thought like this is cute, this is cool. But then I switched back to the Hotline Miami skin because I think that one's like definitely like my main. I feel like
Yeah.
it's just so good. And then I got
I
like
mean, you
the
played through Super Mario Odyssey with the red cap and blue.
oh yeah, absolutely. I feel like you're a freak if you change out of that. Anyway, so um what was I gonna say? So I actually yeah I didn't mention this before, but I've maxed out my battle pass. So I'm level 40 already.
Wow, that was
So,
fast.
Yeah,
I'm
like
going to. Like, I'm
out-
almost definitely going to, but
yeah, I'm out of progression type things to get other than just, wins and kudos to spend on skins,
yeah.
which, like yes, it makes sense. Like I think like the season is like 2 or 3 months or something, but like there's still like
It was only 2 months. It was 60 days. So.
okay, so there's still like 50 days left or something, or around that much. So it's just gonna be quite a while. But like that makes sense. Like I played this game in a abnormal amount.
Yeah. They have to give, people who aren't you enough time.
Yeah. All right, Mike. What about you?
I'm going to talk about Spyro because I haven't talked about the game yet.
Nice.
It's like 2 years old now though, but God, I'm so glad they remastered those games. It's been so nice playing through them.
That's awesome.
Like, ugh. Except
So
for Spyro 1. Spyro 1 just seems weird.
Yeah, I keep meaning to go back to the Spyro collection. Like I played a huge chunk of 1, and I still need to play 2 and 3.
I've been slowly working my way through 100%ing 1.
See, I started off Reignited by 100%ing 3. I'm almost there. I don't like it as much as the originals. That's I know a hot take, but
But isn't it like the same as the originals
It's the
except
same
with better
game.
graphics?
Yeah, it's just graphics update.
you see, but I don't like the new graphics as much because it's harder to find gems now.
Yeah, I think we had this discussion before.
That's my only beef with it. Other than that, it's a straight upgrade. Like,
It's
like a
good.
flawless upgrade. But it really, really bothers me that the visibility on gems is not as good. I found out eventually that I was having some frame rate issues, or not frame rate issues. I was having trouble with some of the jumps, and I found out that was a frame rate related issue, and it got patched, I believe. That or I installed a mod, I can't remember.
Yeah.
But other than that, yeah, it's just some of the gyms, like where the grass is not a 2D plane anymore. Sometimes the gyms are kind of hidden in grass, and I think that's terrible design. But other than that, it's an amazing remake. But that just irks me so much.
Yeah, I mean, I was quite impressed with it, but like I actually never played Spyro as a kid, which is kind of weird that I missed that. Like I remember seeing commercials and stuff for Spyro, and I was like, "This is so cool," and I want this,
Crazy
but I
that you're
never.
a PlayStation guy and didn't play Spyro.
Yeah, I'm a weird
That's
person.
super weird.
Yeah, so like I remember seeing commercials for Spyro all the time, and I was like, I want this so bad, but I just never got it for some reason.
I only ever played Spyro 3 as a kid. The other thing that bugs me about the remakes versus the old ones is that the old ones, like the remakes look good and they're fun and everything, and they capture all of that. But the original Spyro games were a technical marvel, and that's interesting to me as a tech guy. Like, just seeing that in action is cool for me. Like, Spyro pioneered LOD, and that's like just a given in any game nowadays. Every game has that, but Spyro did it first.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Spyro, especially Spyro 1, they're good games at their time, and they still hold up. Like, Spyro 1's still fun.
Yeah.
Like, I'm having a blast just running around through levels 100%ing.
I think it's a
Like-
super hot take that Spyro 3 is my favorite of the trilogy. I think most people would say Spyro 2.
I liked 3. I also liked 2. I think I ended up getting a glitch that unlocked everything for Spyro 2 for some reason. I had a lot of encounters with playing games where, like, the save would corrupt in the right way to unlock the entire game for just that one session.
Really? That's weird.
It happened to me, my sister when she was playing Harvest Moon, where she ended up glitching the game and getting every item.
That's a very Gabby thing to do.
I don't know how she did it. Like she was playing the game as normal. Or I'd like go to load up, I think it was like Stuart Little for the PlayStation 1, and just for this one session, every single level was unlocked.
Dude, favorite glitches in games could be a good episode for us.
Like, I can't replicate those glitches. I don't know how they happened. The memory card could have corrupted itself, but you never know. Back in that gen, things would just randomly break in your favor.
Yep. A lot of entropy in those games.
Yeah. Chaos. Like I went through and it's like, oh wait, I've never been to these levels. What?
I need to finish Spyro.
I need to finish Spyro 1. I got to the Dreamweavers and I'm just like, I'm gonna do a world a day or something like that.
Yeah, I found Spyro 1 a little tough to get through.
It's mostly because it's repetitive in its nature.
Yeah, it's not like the Spyro 2 and 3 add all this additional stuff that like fluff essentially that Spyro 1 just didn't have.
Spyro 1, you go collect all the gems, rescue the dragons, finish level. Go collect gems, rescue dragons, finish level. And there's like 5 levels a world, and 3 levels are the same thing, and the 4th one's a speedway level.
Yeah, God.
And the last one's a boss. Levels. That's the same thing as the other levels.
I had a big problem with the... Actually, no, this isn't just a problem with the remasters. This is Spyro in general. They make me motion sick, and I've never really figured out why. The originals and the remakes.
That is weird.
Speedway levels.
I've read that it happens to other people. Yeah, the speedway levels, it really, anytime I was free flying in Spyro 3, the original would make me motion sick. But the remake, I think it's a motion blur thing. I read about it online a little bit. The remakes made a lot of people motion sick. But the speedway levels, yeah, like you said, Mike, I actually had to stop playing Spyro 3 a couple of times when I was in college because it was making me so sick trying to 100% the speedways.
100% the speedways. The speedways are hard, too. Like, you gotta have a route planned out ahead of time.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, I don't know how much motion blur factors into what you experienced with Spyro, but I do know that like motion blur is like aggressively being implemented in a lot of games.
I turn it off in every game.
Yeah.
I hate motion blur.
I think the real question is, when's Naughty Dog gonna come through and remaster
Jak and Daxter?
Jak and Daxter, or Insomniac gonna remaster the first 3 Ratchet and Clanks?
I don't think they'll do it. I think somebody else will do it. So don't give it to somebody else. But
I really want a Jak and Daxter remastered.
Jak and Daxter I loved. I played Jak and Daxter so much growing up, so I would love that too.
But the thing is, Naughty Dog would have to throw the rights to another studio because I know they're never going to make another Jak and Daxter.
Well, here's the thing. Sony owns the IP, right? So like Sony could just give it to someone. And I think they did that before, right? Like there was like Jak and Daxter, the New Frontier or whatever, and Naughty Dog did make that.
I think they did throw the IP elsewhere.
I've been trying to play through the first Jak and Daxter as an adult, and it just doesn't do it for me. I don't know. I don't really like collectathons that much, though.
Jak 1 still does it for me. Like, I can still play Jak 1 today. Jak 2 is much, much more difficult to get through.
I want, like, an original trilogy Jak and Daxter remake and an original trilogy Ratchet and Clank remake. That's all I want with my life.
I think I would love Ratchet and Clank. I remember playing...
I mean, they remade the first game.
They did remake the first game, and the first Ratchet and Clank did need a complete remake because it had a lot of mechanics that were kind of bad and just didn't feel good. Like, I played through it a couple years ago, and it just didn't feel fun to play.
Here's the thing, like, they almost, like, remade they remade parts of the story, too. Like, they changed, like, Ratchet and Clank's relationship in the remake, like... Because in the original, like, at first they were, like, at odds with each other, right? But that, like, really wasn't a thing.
In the original, like, the characterization of Ratchet was completely different in the first game than it was from the rest of the games. Like, they didn't have a clear direction for the character, different voice actor. He was kind of an awful person, or an awful Lombax. The mechanics of the first game were weird. It was just, like, an awkward first game for a series. Because strafing was not something that was recommended, and lock strafing didn't exist, which made the game actually a lot more difficult than it should have been.
I can't remember what it was. The only Ratchet and Clank game I've played a bunch of was like a side game on the PS2 that had split screen co-op.
Deadlocked?
Yes.
Deadlocked was a good game.
I loved it. It's the only one I've played, and I loved that game. I remember I really wanted the PS3 one, but I didn't have a PS3 at the time.
Like the
Crack in Time?
Yeah.
The games to play are the Future Series, 2, 3 Deadlocked. Just ignore it. Just play the remake of 1. You don't really need to play 1. 1 was
Gotta see the
actually
movie.
super difficult. You see the movie, or just watch the movie.
God.
But just ignore the original PS2 release and the PS3 re-release of 1 because it didn't age well, and there's way better ways to experience now than just playing the original game.
I do
Yeah,
really want to play them.
God, is it hard? Trying to
I would
complete it.
probably buy a remake,
You get,
or a
like, 2
remaster
weeks.
immediately.
Yeah, those games are kind of like, I feel like they're pretty timeless. Like it's just a like good fun with like crazy weapons.
Except Ratchet 1. Ratchet 1's not
Yeah.
timeless.
Right.
Have you guys
The fact
played-
that you couldn't take damage was what got me.
Have you guys played the Destroy Humans remaster, any?
I need to.
No,
I have had the original Destroy Humans for years, and I've just never really gone back and played it. I've never played it, actually. But I saw everybody was enjoying the remaster, and I was like, well, maybe this is the time to bust it out, and like, if I'm having a good time, I'll buy the remaster.
It's a good game.
And I did have a good time, such a good time, in fact, that I thought it would be a waste of money to buy the remaster, because I had the original, and I've
Yeah.
been playing through it.
No, the remaster's an excuse to just buy the game in HD.
Yeah. Destroy Humans 2 is the one I've actually played, and I have all the nostalgia for. That game is a masterpiece. It is so much better than the first one. Like, just the open world is so much better integrated in Destroy Humans 2, and you actually, like, talk to NPCs and get missions and stuff.
Yeah,
And,
Destroy All
like-
Humans 2 was a refinement of the Destroy All Humans formula, which Destroy All Humans 1 was still a fantastic
Oh
game.
yeah, no, I'm not knocking Destroy Humans 1. I'm playing through it for the first time and having a good time, even though it's such an old game. I think that says a lot.
I'm gonna show my ignorance here, but I've never played these games before.
I mean, they weren't big, right? Like, I played Destroy Humans 2 as a kid because it had co-op, and and one of my best friends, Brock, had it on his original Xbox, and we just had a ton of fun playing that. We pretty much alternated between that and Battlefront 2. Those were our 2 games that we played. And I'm pretty sure we played through the entire game on co-op, so I actually like got to see the entire game start to finish, and that's pretty rare to do, like, as a kid playing with your friends, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I know a lot of people do that with Halo, but to do that with, like, just, you know, a game has to be pretty good to warrant that.
Yeah, rest in peace Pandemic for what it was worth, but they released some good games.
I even liked, I don't know how controversial this is, but Big Willie Unleashed, the Destroy Humans on the Wii, I thought it was pretty fun. It was probably better than the first
Hold
one.
on, what else did Pandemic Studios release?
And then there was Wrath of the Furon, which I never played.
Oh, Pandemic Studios was also responsible for Star Wars Battlefront 1 and 2. So
Wow.
it was just all Pandemic.
Yep, it was all Pandemic all the way for me. Wow, what a good studio. They're gone now?
Yeah, no, they got shut down in 2009 because
God,
EA.
they were masters of game design.
EA bought
Yeah, another result of the EA massacre.
EA bought BioWare and Pandemic in 2008 and then shut down Pandemic.
There is to this day not a good enough space dogfight game to compete with Battlefront 2, in my opinion.
Hopefully, because Pandemic was actually working on Battlefront 3, which looked
I know. Mm.
good.
So wait, did they get shut down? Did they do Wrath of the Furon?
No, they did 1 and 2.
That explains it. So, they didn't do Big Willie Unleashed either.
They didn't do
That's
Big
weird.
One.
Big Willie Unleashed had a lot of the same character. Wrath of the Furon I never played. It was Xbox 360 exclusive, I think, which is weird.
EA bought them. And then 2 years later, they closed it down, and they released 3 games in that space.
So who? It's THQ making these remasters, right? Or at least publishing them?
THQ Nordic, I believe.
Yeah. So I wonder how they got the license.
It was published by THQ. Destroy All Humans 1 and 2 were.
Oh, okay.
So I believe THQ had the license anyway, and Pandemic was just contracted.
I would love for them to make a Destroy Humans 2 remaster. I would buy that in a heartbeat,
Yeah.
I think, because that's the one that means everything to me.
God,
And
we've had a lot of like good games companies just kind of shut themselves down in the EA massacre.
I just need the co-op. The co-op was so good. I mean, I remember playing Destroy Humans 2 co-op with my roommate in college because it held up so well.
BioWare's next.
BioWare is
Fine.
very
They haven't made a good game in a long time.
Yeah, EA has a bad history of just killing game studios after they milk them dry.
Yeah.
Hopefully the next Dragon Age is good, but I'm skeptical, and I've heard rumors of a Mass Effect trilogy remaster.
Yes, thank God. Yes, please, just do
Like,
it.
they
I've
need
really-
to do it, but
I've learned to fall in love with like the developer instead of the IP because that talent doesn't leave the industry usually. They just end up having to go somewhere else and do.
Right.
So like, you got to really fall in love with the spiritual successor formula. Like,
yeah,
I miss Castlevania, Bloodstained Curse of the Moon, good stuff.
Yeah.
yeah, I've kind of lost loyalty to developers in general and just follow individual people around.
Right. Yeah.
Like, it's more
Or
of
even just teams, because sometimes it's an entire team.
yeah, it's like, oh, is this team behind developing this game?
Although
I
on
might
that
be
note,
interested.
I did some talking to some Halo fans I know, and apparently a lot of 343 are like people from Bungie that
Yeah.
worked on Halo, which is weird because when I look at 343, like a lot of the criticisms against them are that they don't understand what made Halo good. And I gotta wonder if it's like just the writing is so bad.
I mean, here's the thing, like a game director actually can make or break a game, like
Oh,
in a strictly like how do I want to say this? In a day-to-day sense, right? They might not matter in terms of like, okay, the engineers are coding these mechanics or like the artists are creating these assets. But like for the overall vision of the game, like if you don't have a good game director, it's not going to be good, even if you have really good talent. So I feel like unless that guy stayed,
I have no idea. I
yeah.
didn't do enough research into it.
I know that the person in charge of 343 is actually the corporate vice president of Xbox Game Studios. So they really didn't work at Bungie's
Mm.
studio, and they just formed 343. But 343 had their hands in Halo Legends, which was anime,
Hmm.
and
There was
they
a
made
Halo
Halo
anime?
Waypoint. Yeah, they
Didn't they
made
make
Halo
ODST
anime.
as well?
They did not make ODST.
Did they do Reach?
They did some DLC for Reach.
Okay.
Yeah, they made the second and third map packs, but they really didn't do anything.
See, that's really like me talking as an outsider because I don't have a ton of vested interest in Halo. I just hear people
Yeah.
complain about 343 a lot.
I mean, Halo 4 definitely felt different
Oh yeah.
than Halo 3, 2, and 1. Like, it felt off, one would
It felt
say.
like a bad attempt to modernize. in
Yeah,
my
it
opinion.
felt like they tried to modernize a series that really didn't need modernizing.
Yeah.
And another big problem was like just the story, right? Because like 3 was the end, essentially,
the end.
right? So like, and yes, they did like a little teaser at the end of 3 for like potentially more stuff, but 3 really like ended the conflict. So
Yeah.
anything you did after that would just be like, okay, we're still going, but like the epic conflict ended in 3.
It'd be like putting a game directly after Mass Effect 3 and being like, surprise.
Yeah.
So Andromeda?
Technically, Andromeda was like a spin-off.
Yeah. In a different galaxy.
Bi-
but-
BioWare wanted to avoid that whole canon mess, so they just yeeted them into another galaxy.
Yeah. I don't know. I'd still like to revisit. Like, I would not be opposed to a Mass Effect 4, honestly.
I would not be. Even if they like established a canon, I wouldn't be mad.
Yeah.
I just want like a good Mass Effect game.
Yes, please. That's all I want.
I want a
Even if
game
it's
that
even if
doesn't
it's
cause
the first 3
disappointment.
games just thrown onto next gen consoles, that'd be
Yeah.
enough for me at this point.
Just give me a remaster. Give me something that's not like
I've never played Mass
Andromeda.
Effect.
Yeah, I mean,
Just don't do it. You'll be disappointed.
I know.
no, I
You'll
don't know
join
about-
the ranks of disappointment.
I definitely recommend playing. I think 2 is the best one, and I think that one was like definitely a defining game for me.
The last 5 games of being like a massive franchise, the last 5 years of being a massive franchise fan, like Mass Effect and Fallout and The Elder Scrolls, it's just been a massive disappointment.
Yeah.
I mean,
Like-
it has been, but like other franchises have like come up, and
No, you're a Battlefield fan. I hope you're ready for a disappointment.
What are you talking about with that? Battlefield 5?
Battlefield 5.
I know a lot of people that really like Battlefield 5 before
I
they
know
ruined
people that
it.
like it, but EA really just like cut life support off a game that they intended to be a live service, and their Firestorm mode collapsed.
Yeah.
They they put a lot of development resources in a mode that lasted a grand total of a week.
Yeah, people need to stop cashing in on battle royales in games that are not battle royales.
Like, at some point, you got to look at, is this mode going to be a long-lasting mode, and are people going to enjoy it for a while? If not, then why are we putting development resources into it?
I mean, it's the same thing that happened when multiplayer gaming as a whole became a thing, like online multiplayer gaming. Like I mentioned before, like so many single-player games had tacked on multiplayer modes, like Mass Effect and BioShock.
I think the most egregious one is Dead Space.
Yeah, Dead Space. Like what? And we're seeing something similar now happen with battle royales, where like every multiplayer game
I mean, Call of
wants to
Duty
shoehorn
did
in
it,
a battle
right?
royale just because the math shows them they'll make a lot more money.
I mean, Call of Duty Warzone is still immensely popular. Like, I believe it's passing Apex. Because I guess it does
forget
it right.
Apex exists most days.
Yeah, I forget it
Apex,
exists.
like all things considered, Apex, like yeah, it's not as big as it was when it came out, but it's still a thing, you know. Like
I still
a
think
lot
it's
of
one of the
people
better
still play it.
battle royales. I don't know. I don't
I'm
like that I
seeing a
can't
lot of
solo
people
queue.
playing Warzone, and that's a testament to, I guess, Activision finally figuring out what makes a battle royale, and
Yeah.
giving people what they wanted. DICE needs to stick to like developing their shooters and making a thriving multiplayer scene, and not abandoning a game like Battlefield 5 because they stopped patches. Like, I believe, hold on, I'm gonna get a direct date. I think they stopped patches like a year ago, but that might be 2019. It looks like 2020 was their summer update, and
Wow.
2019, yeah, they put out their summer update, but I believe they stopped like major content.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like that's too soon.
Oh yeah, their last like large content update was in June. Their summer update was their last big content update, where like 4 was still getting updates up until the release of Battlefield 1. And the fact that this game launched last year or the year before that? When did it launch?
I want to say 2018.
2018.
Not sure though.
Yeah, they should still, like, Battlefield 4 was still getting support into the launch of Battlefield 1. And then Battlefield 1 launched 2016, and before that was Battlefield Hardline, which launched in 2015. Like, there was 2 Battlefield games in between when Battlefield 4 stopped their production.
Yeah.
Battlefield 4 launched 2013, and it was still getting updates until 2016. Like, 3 years of just constant balances, map launches.
Yeah, they were well known back then for
Yeah.
supporting, but
Like, their final update was December 15th, 2015 with the Legacy Operations, when they remastered a previous map. And Battlefield Hardline came out in 2015, and Battlefield 1, 2016. So, well into, like, 3 years of release, they were still updating it. And Battlefield 5 is like, yeah, we're done updating it now. Which is weird. I guess that's proof for how it did.
wasn't doing as well. Yeah.
Yeah. It only sold 7.3 million copies by the end of 2018.
Only, you know, but like, you know,
Which was a
for them,
disappointment.
it is a disappointment. Yeah. For that
They
series.
did sell fewer than half the physical copies that Battlefield 1 did. Like, they blamed their focus on a single player campaign instead of developing a battle royale mode, which I don't think is true because Firestorm exploded. Like, God, what a disappointment.
So those are the games we've been playing.
I'll rant on this next podcast.
All right. I think that's going to do it for us this week. Thank you guys for listening. You can follow us at @PodcastGameTalk on Twitter. Please like, rate, and review us on any podcast service you use. Please click the link in the description of this podcast to join our Discord and chat with us there. Lastly, thank you, Connor and Mike, as always.
Yep, and for those curious, the game crashed, not the plane.
Ooh.
And we'll see you next time. Bye.